Masa left everybody. Mo Davis, the Travis Outsider. Bear with me. I am in a lot of pain. My throat, my neck. It's kind of why you haven't seen me. But I have been having this conversation, and I think it needs to be had more broadly on this app as well. Many of you have never been exposed to genociders. And not only have you been exposed to them now, you're getting to see some of them in their most heated live and live streamed. And I think we need to talk about this because many of you are getting the impression that Genocide is an event or an action that has a beginning and an end. And I think we really need to dig deeper and go further into this for you to thoroughly understand what Genocide is, how it works, what its impact is, and what it looks like. Because what you're seeing is one image of what you think is the representation of a genocider. It's a lot more sinister and hard to grasp than that. Yesterday, I came to the realization that I am quite literally observing the extinction of some of my peoples in real time. Like, not just the beginning phases, but the extinction. And sure, there's still a national identity of Egyptians. And sure, there are people there, and some of them, are my blood relative. But genocide isn't just the physical termination of people or extermination. It is the extermination of their identity. And a big part of colonialism and genocide is to erase evidence of something's existence. And one big part of specifically many Egyptian cultures is labeled kind of like superstition, beliefs, folk tales that you may or may not be able to interpret literally. But they have profound meaning and a lot of history. And in fact, we're often used as a tool to keep our communities not only alive, but energized and strong. Indigenous peoples, we had to rely on each other for survival. We knew that in the conditions of the Sahara, if we were in a community, we weren't going to survive. And so out of this came folk tales, and I guess some will want to call it mythology. Stories that we shared, superstitions that we have. And Egyptians are highly, particularly superstitious in many ways, or at least they were. But as you watch the increase in conservatism, a lot of leaders have told us that these superstitions are haram. And when you look at the term kafir, there's often a misconception that makes people believe that kafir means non-believer or person going to hell. The actual translation verbatim of what kafir is liar, a person who doesn't tell the truth. And lying can be done with misinformation or by omission, removing the information. And so as I've watched the rise in conservatism globally, I also watch its effect on my people. People whose conservatism comes from a culture that is not our own. And when I take that observation and I apply it to the grand scheme of things, of what genocide is and what it does, and what colonialism is and what it does. Because the truth is, they are one and the same. The fine details are semantics that really don't matter. But I want you to rather see colonialism and genocide as a parasite or a parasitic seed. And like non-indigenous plants and animals, it wreaks havoc on the ecosystem of the people. It breaks them down. It destroys their identities. Now, when you look at the laws that Canada had and the Indigenous population, you quickly realize that that is exactly what we attempted to do to the Indigenous people of Turtle Island. We made it difficult for them to identify their own folklore, their own stories, their own identity. And if all those stories aren't real and need to be discarded, then their identity isn't real and needs to be discarded. And some of you are going to understand this concept, and some of you simply will not be able to grasp it because you have not sat in the discomfort of the extinction of your own people. Because before you were white, or French, or British, or Canadian, you belonged to a tribal community where you had loyalty to each other and you survived together in harmony as part of the circle that is your environment. You weren't a parasite. All this to say, I want you to broaden your point of view of what genocide is and what colonialism is. And if you understand that, then you will no longer go to colonized people or oppressed people and say, get over the past. Because you will understand that it is not the past. It is, in fact, still in present. And it keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going until it either wins and causes the extinction of the people, or until it loses. And those people continue to exist in harmony with this land. Anyway, some food for thought.